what are you allowed to talk about when it comes to your actual profession right now? The one you are currently on strike from.
I think everything is fine as long as I'm like...
So I can say like, Steve, congrats on you and Donald doing this new Lando show, which I read about.
Oh boy, you shouldn't have said that.
But that's literally that's the extent of what you can say, is that. All right, so that is the voice, the already regretful voice of my friend Stephen Glover, the genius screenwriter and rapper and producer, the guy who may be best known as the head story editor of Atlanta, the TV show which won pretty much every award in Hollywood, and is also one of my absolute favorite shows of all time. Steve and his brother Donald are now making a widely reported and super highly anticipated new Star Wars show, a Lando Calrissian show for Disney Plus. Or at least I thought they were until now.
No, yeah, I mean, I could pretty much be like, yeah, you know, we're doing it's not even a show.
Should we bleep it?
I'm sure like the nerds will figure it out anyway.
Great.
They'll read my lips or something.
But wait, you said it's not even a show?
And no, the idea right now is to do a movie. You know, but like that's the thing. Like right now, because of the strike, it's kind of like telephone. All the information like
wait, so I
coming
can
up.
be an information broker
Yes.
between you and the Walt Disney Company? Guys, they're doing a movie.
You gotta pretend
doing
like
a
you
movie.
just got a text. I'm hearing. My sources are telling me.
Did you ever play a game, and I hesitate to call it a game, but in high school, we played the pass-out game?
This sounds like something on a Dateline.
It was definitely some things that like
Yeah,
some white kids at school were like, hey, check this out. And you would like stand there up against the wall, and you'd cross your arms like this, like hand over shoulder, crisscrossed, and they would like press up and under your like rib cage until like you lost consciousness.
See,
And you would pop back in like 15 seconds later, and people would be like, "Yo, that was like being inside of like Mortal Kombat, or like it was like a Mario Kart level."
I didn't even know you could do this. I'm about to go home and play the pass out game right now.
So I should say that I never played it, but I was in the room socially watching, and I was like, "This doesn't feel like a thing that my mom." I couldn't even lie to her about this.
I always kind of wanted to like faint just because I wanted to know what it was like or what was happening. But like, yeah, I remember like I played football and there was like a kid who like an offensive lineman. He's like really big. And I remember we were like taking like the photos and we're like all standing.
Like a team photo.
Yeah, like a team photo. And we're like all standing on like these little makeshift like, you know, bleacher things they set up or whatever. The offensive linemen are like in the back because they're the biggest. They're like on the top thing. We're like getting ready to take it. And also you just hear this, "Wah!" like this like giant offensive lineman just tumbling forward over on everybody. And everybody's like, what's going on? He like passed out. And then the coach is like, "I told you guys, stop locking your knees. Like, don't lock your knees." I'm like, lock your knees? I'm like, that's all it takes? I'm like, I lock my knees all the time.
So I want to just set up a little bit about the fact that I think I was trying to do the math on this. I think I first encountered you and or Donald and or Ibra and or Swank like 10 years ago now, like 2013, which is wild. I don't think I've ever asked you a single question about what it was like to play high school football.
Yeah.
I honestly forgot until you just reminded me about that now.
Nah, it's a part of my life I'm trying to like forget. I've been like running away from. No, I mean, high school football.
What was the scouting report on Stephen Glover? What position did you play? I don't know any of these answers, honestly. I played
running back. I played
Holy
running back. So me getting to see the devaluing of the running back position personally
That's right.
affects me.
At what point were you like, oh, I'm not going to be doing this in college?
Man, I didn't play a whole lot. Like I didn't have like.
I'm shocked to hear that.
I wasn't like highly recruited, Pablo. So.
But at what point did you? At what point did you resolve in yourself, like, oh, this is like a thing that's this is where this ends for me?
Man, it's funny. I remember.
How quickly did you get disabused of this idea?
There's a funny story, man. Like everybody who played football remembers this speech because it was hilarious at the time. We had a coach, and my 11th grade year, we found out like at the end it was gonna be his last year coaching there. So like, but it's like the last game, like right before, and he gives us like this speech. He's like, like we're all like huddled together. He's like, you want to like take this time. Like this is like a special time right here. Like this is, remember this moment. Like look at the guys like around you. Cause like some of you, this will be the last time you ever play football. Like this will be the last time you ever touch a football field. Like kind of thing. He's like, that's like kind of insightful. He's like, a couple of years from now, like some of you will be in jail. Some of you will be dead. Like, it's like really like morbid. Yeah, it was like some of you, you're gonna have problems with your wife, kids. Like you like
1.6 of you will be involved in a heavy machinery accident.
Some of you you're not gonna make it home from this game. Like statistically, at least one of you is dying in a car crash. And we're all just like looking at each other like. Like, wow, I mean, I guess. Like, I thought this was a celebration, but now it's like...
Getting increasingly specific. Kind of like an evil fortune teller.
Yeah, no. But what was funny, too, is he was right. That's why I can't be mad at him, because I'm like, man, he was trying to tell us the truth. And I think when I thought about that, it's not like basketball where it's like, you go to, like, the pickup game, and there's, like, an 80-year-old man, like, shooting three-pointers. Like football, once it's over, like there's no like pickup football game.
There's no recreational football over a certain age.
You're never gonna put on a butt pad again. That's it.
So Atlanta, like for me to provide context for the listener on like you, I almost need to like say stuff like, you are the real life inspiration for Paperboy. And I don't know if people really appreciate that.
And no, they don't. They don't appreciate it enough. I am the real Paperboy.
Okay, so I should just do a crude summary here, I think, for anybody who has never seen Atlanta, which is a shame, because the show ostensibly is about a rapper named Paperboy, who is played by Brian Tyree Henry, and his manager/cousin, Ern, who is played by Donald. And it speaks to, I mean, truly, like so many different things. It speaks to viral video culture and magical realism and race in America. And anyway, I'm writing a think piece at this point about my friend's TV show. Anyway, know that it's ostensibly about music. In reality, hijinks ensue.
I do all of the songs.
But you're the closest. So you're the actual voice. You're like on those songs.
Yeah, I do all the tracks. That's me. Like
you're
the
rapping for Brian Tyree Henry.
Yeah.
You're his ghost rapper.
I'm the ghost rapper for Paperboy.
Paperboy, always about that paperboy. If you ain't on your grind, then you flexing, you's a hater boy. Paperboy, always getting paperboy.
And because I grew up in Atlanta and spent like a good part of my formative years out there. Like a lot of the stories are based on stuff that I've seen and like gone through, but also like our friend like Swank, who's also a writer. He's from Atlanta, and like my brother too. It feels like
you and Swank though, in the lore around you guys, as I've gotten to know you, it's like the that is the most absurd that is in the show seems to be inspired by like you and or Swank's actual real life adventures.
No, very, very much so. Very true.
What's an example, just so I can express this like accurately? What's an example of an episode that is in fact inspired by something that happened to you guys that seems like it happened to nobody because it's ridiculous.
The second episode of Atlanta where, Earn's in jail and Paperboy gets out of jail, like, that was like me and Swank. Like we
in jail.
Yeah, we went to jail when we were like
Your coach
in college.
Was right.
I know. That's exactly when I knew. I was like, wow. I was like, I'm never playing football again, and I'm in jail just like he's. But
wait, what were you in jail for?
So it was funny. We were shooting a music video. I was just getting ready to like move to LA, but we were shooting a music video. And it was funny because we were shooting at this like these like artist warehouse things. It was like kind of like private property, but we had this director, like this guy. He was like directing us, and he was living there in like the artist thing. So we're like shooting in this like car. It's like Friday night, or Saturday night. It's like already like kind of hot out there in like Atlanta. As far as like cops are out, they're looking for like
in every sense, literal and figurative. Yeah. It's real hot. This block is extraordinarily
they're
hot.
looking for like troublemakers, but we weren't doing anything. We shot this video. We're in the back of this like place, this like these warehouses or whatever, and so the director is like, I'm going to go inside my house and like grab something real quick. So he walks into his like house or like the little studio thing. We're standing outside and this like cop car just comes around real slow. And like, it's like a lady, she's like, what are you guys doing here? And we're like, oh, we're like shooting a music video. We just finished. And then she like looks around. She's like, I don't see any cameras. And I was like, oh, this isn't going to like I already knew. I was like, this isn't going to go well, right? So,
her first follow-up question indicated a lot about the rest of this conversation.
Like she already doesn't believe us. So I'm like, all right, well, the director, he has the camera. He just like went inside. She's like, like, yeah. And then like she gets out. The funny part about this is the dude who was directing the video. He like saw this cop car from inside, and he ran out the other side of the building. He just ran out, got this car, and left us. He was like, later he was like, yeah, man, I got like warrants, so like once I saw that, like I just, and so it really felt like we were lying. Like we're like, we're shooting this video. She's like, where's this director? I'm like, he'll be back any moment. He like never came back. He ditched us like completely. So we're there. She's like, she calls for like backup, we're like, okay, like we're standing there looking in the car. And then there was like a gram of like weed in the car. And she's like, whose weed is this? And we all like looked at each other. She's like, all right, you're all going to jail. So we went to jail. What's also funny about this story too is it was such a small amount of weed, they lost it. On the ride over to the jail, they lost the weed. The one piece of evidence
You're
they had against us.
The chain of custody on this evidence was not especially rigorous.
It was not. The whole case was botched from the beginning. It was like the OJ trial. Like
that's what many say. Many people say this about your arrest.
So the whole thing was just like a kind of like silly
People were protesting outside for you and Swank over freeways, holding like shirts with
people
your face
running after the car, the cop cars that we're in. So it was like, like the whole thing was like very like just farcical and like funny. It all ended up like we just had to, we spent like 18 hours in this, holding area in like jail. And so whole episode.
This is something I do want to find out about though, briefly, is what's that 18 hours like?
Man, it's just like the episode. It's terrible. There's like a Simpsons episode where like the school gets like those cheap like chairs and they have like a hump in them, and like none of the kids can get comfortable in the chair.
It's constantly trying to find a groove that doesn't ever arrive.
That's how it felt. Like the chairs in there are like super uncomfortable. You're just like
so my
sitting
first thing
there.
I've learned about being in jail from you is that the chairs are suboptimal.
Yes, they suck. They're not comfortable at all. The other thing, too, is whenever you go to jail, you will be hungry. You will never go on a full stomach, Like, only my bosses get arrested right after dinner. So as soon as you get there, you're going to be like, damn, I wish I had 8.
I wish I had thinly sliced some garlic.
Yeah, because
Put it on my
the
chicken parm.
the food they had given us, they're like, here's like this bologna sandwich, that's was made who knows
Hold
how
on,
long
though.
ago.
Hold on. At this point, you're sounding a little bit like a snob.
Actually,
Sorry the jail bologna wasn't up to Steve's specifications.
I personally hate bologna. I've always hated bologna. So, I'm like, I wish it was turkey. A turkey sandwich in jail would have been great. But, yeah, so I am kind of a snob on that. I'm like, bologna.
So, okay, chairs and the lunch meat.
The lunch is terrible.
Both terrible.
And it's a lot of sitting around. And there's a joke in the episode where like you try and like go to sleep and they're like, you can't sleep in here. And it's like, so what am I supposed to be doing? Saying, I don't know, just stare forward, think about your life.
What's the logic behind don't sleep? That's a rule that's imposed?
It's probably so that you're not mentally, there enough to fight back. That's the first move of mind control is like sleep deprivation. They're like, let's keep these guys up for the next 18 hours and they'll be easy to mold and, they'll do whatever we tell them to do kind of thing.
And so the resolution of this, 18 hours passes. And then what happens at hour 18 or thereabouts?
Well, you get bailed out and you
Who bailed you out?
Who did bail me out? It was my friends.
Who did you ask to bail you out?
Well, that was the thing. Everybody, my friends, me, Terrence, and Swank, we were shooting the video, so we all got arrested. So we had to call our other friends who weren't there to like bail us out. And it's like, it's like college, so it's like trying. So
you're at Georgia Tech at this point.
Yeah. So like trying to get together, trying to scrape together like $200 between your friends is still hard. Everybody's like, I don't know how much.
It's a lot of like padding of pockets.
Yeah, like gotta like get 8 people together to get this bail to happen. Like before I end up like getting in trouble for changing the story, I'm like my ex-girlfriend bailed me out. That's
let the record show.
She's like somewhere like I'm the one.
Where am I in the episode? Is what she's asking right now.
She's Van. Van comes at the end.
Shit.
Bail's earned out.
That's right.
And she's mad about it.
Right. And she knows she's Van in real life.
She knows she's Van in that situation, for sure.
Because Van's character arc does get.
Yeah, she didn't go to Paris and beat anybody
extreme.
up, but.
Yeah. It's important to point out that, like, you go from that to, like, being an objectively successful. Do you feel highly respected in Hollywood?
No.
How does it
No, I don't.
Because, like, you guys won Golden Globes. You got WGA awards. You've been nominated for Emmys. I've seen you on red carpets. I've snuck into parties with you after you've won things. And I've gotten the sense that it's sort of like you're living a lucid dream, except for some reminders, I guess, that you're not in the most inner sanctum yet.
No, I mean, it's funny because it's like, like especially early on, the success was like, it was like strange because like it came so quick.
Happened. It was, I just want to, if I could just salute myself for just being a great stockholder.
Yeah, I mean, you know how to pick them. You can tell early on. You're like, this kid's going somewhere.
I'm a GM. A GM of Friends.
Hollywood
this
GM.
Guy. Yeah, this guy. There's a glint in his eye. His motor. He's an unstoppable motor.
I've got all the intangibles you look for in a writer, a TV writer.
But wait, you were saying, though, that like it happened immediately, which was how it felt to me watching it. And I was like, holy
I mean, the success like was very early on, which made it like crazy. But I mean, now that we're past that, like I've gotten to see like in the beginning, it's like, wow, Atlanta, it's like the greatest show. And like, it's awesome to like, now I'm like people are like places like, man, that show Atlanta sucks. Like like I got to sit around long enough to like see the full like spectrum of it. We're like, man, who wrote this stupid episode? I'm like, man, it didn't feel that long ago. I was at a Golden Globe party dancing to Bad and Bougie, like.
It wasn't so long ago that you literally introduced Hollywood
to the Migos.
To the Migos.
And now no one cares anymore. Now everybody, I'm like, check out this Ice Spice chick. Everybody's like, shut up.
You've watched comment sections turn.
Yeah, but I mean, like, I just feel like.
But hold on, you're making a Lando movie. So on some level, like, but so explain how it is that both things can be true. Like, how is it that you're doing the shit that like is a dream, but also,
I feel like, there's.
Is this a baloney situation? You're like, look.
Well,
my suite at the Chateau Marmont, they didn't fluff my pillow.
Well, no, it's like, now I know enough to be like, there are pitfalls to all of this. This, like, when episode 1 of Star Wars came out, people were excited. I remember that, like,
prequels.
As a kid. Yeah, they were like, oh man, it's gonna be cool. And then it's like you see Jar Jar Binks, and like people were upset.
It's like, man,
like there's always room for people to be disappointed.
There was always room for decades later a series of think pieces.
Exactly.
That only now reckon with the racialization of the Gungans. Are you ready? So by the way, that's the part where like I actually do want to know how you and Donald on some level, like, because you guys are something that I respect and fear for both of you guys is that you, as much as anybody I know, you guys are attuned to the internet.
Yeah.
Like both in ways that are like speaking to the creative sort of like fuel that you guys get from it. And also like the cynicism around how it works. But also that means that your antenna has to be way up for how this can be dangerous.
No, for sure. I mean, like the internet in general. Like I said, I've gotten to see the love and the hate several times in just different contexts. I got to.
What was your favorite moment of Steve getting high off the internet?
I won't say this is my favorite moment, but just showing like the highs and lows. It's like, in Hollywood, like especially, it's like you're only as valuable as the last thing you did. And it's like, until you're like Martin Scorsese or something, like everyone is like, this could be the last we ever hear from you. So like Swarm, we just did Swarm, Swarm didn't have a lot of fanfare like going into it, I don't think. I think a lot of people may not even have known it was going to come out at first. But then it like came out and it was like a big deal, it was a big hit. Everybody was watching it. It was crazy. You know?
Inspired by the super fans of Beyonce.
Inspired by the internet, for sure.
Yeah, and the Hive, yes.
Yeah, and it's like, that was like a cool moment to like, just like, yeah, it was like, I imagine being DMX, in the 90s. It's like you go outside and you're just hearing your album playing on the streets. It was like everywhere I went, there were people talking about Swarm. It was crazy, but it was like, yeah, like just a reminder, like, oh, okay, like I know what I'm doing, like maybe I'm not as terrible as everybody thinks I am, like maybe we still got something, So that was just like a good like reminder of like, yeah, on to the next thing, and like, you don't get too high or too low ever because it's all coming back around.
So wait a minute, but what I'm registering from all of this is that like that your experience releasing Swarm and people having it resonate with them on some level made you think to yourself, I want to do something else that has some element of, does it feel like this thing has risk with it?
Well, I mean, everything has risk with it. And unless it's like...
But like, look, Swarm, it's like, I'm going to do a show about what it's like to be an unhinged, animalistic Beyonce superfan. And then I'm going to do a show or a movie about Star Wars Lando, which obviously Donald had portrayed Lando before, but like the idea of like, this is going to be our thing. it feels like it's also daring the hive that you just commemorated
Well, no, I
to
mean,
then attack you.
I think that
This is not me trying to persuade you to not do this, by the way.
it's
I'm
fine.
just curious.
I'm not doing it anymore. I've already decided.
Like, this sounds like a dangerous idea, guys. You should have called me first.
No, but I think, everything that's worth doing, it has some risk to it, especially when you care about the quality of things. I think that's like a big part of us is like we don't want to do things that are just going to be mediocre or just going to be like, they came and went or like that was fine enough.
No, you guys
sort of
take
thing.
swings.
Exactly. So there's always going to be some risk. And with something like this, there's going to be people who are really going to like judge you based on it.
When they realize you guys made Lando white,
Yeah.
it's going to be...
When they realize that Lando is everything has been run past the DNC first before they get the
Woke
scripts
Lando.
first. Woke Lando.
That's right.
Like none of the stuff you saw in the other movies is canon. So
Critical race theory Lando is not going to play well on Reddit.
Yeah, no, they're not gonna like it. But I mean, I think it's just like, I think a lot of people would probably be worried to do something like this because of the pressure of pissing off these fans, But I think it's like,
You're like Bane, is what you're saying. I hear you like rounding your way to like being born in the darkness.
Exactly. It's like I was
molded in
exactly. This is what I want. This is what I live for. I want to because that's the other thing too. It's like Eli Manning. To circle this back to football.
I have no idea how this is like Eli Manning in any way.
Let me explain how this is like Eli Manning. Eli Manning comes into the NFL. He's supposed to go to the Chargers. He's like, nah, I want to go to New York. He comes to New York. So there's already that hanging over him. Then he comes in. People are like, man, you are nothing like Peyton. You got this look on your face. You got this body language we don't like. Everybody's like, man, I don't know. This kid has it, And then it's like he beats the Patriots, on a crazy run with Randy Moss and all.
Yes,
and now
the
it's
greatest team of all time.
Exactly.
Derp face Peyton Manning.
And now I'm sure Eli can walk into any bodega in New York and get a chopped cheese for free. He's the man now. It's like most people do not want to step into that cauldron of the New York Giants quarterback position with, and for years people were like, this team is terrible. Like, it could have went the wrong way.
I just like how you have Eli going into a bodega. I guarantee Eli Manning is not walking in. I saw Eli Manning in the Hamptons.
He could be. He could go.
I saw Eli Manning. Dude, I was eating lunch with David Sampson, who works for Meadowlark. We're very stoned. We're eating lunch at like a dockside fancy restaurant in like the Hamptons, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in walks Eli Manning. And Eli Manning is like 6'5", like just tall, confident, perpetually dressed like he's at an Easter function. Just like shorts, polo, just like the dude, the confidence that he has in any setting in the tri-state area.
Exactly.
That part is real.
That's what I mean. He can go anywhere now. It doesn't matter what he did the other years of his career. It's like that was enough. Like this fan base that has chewed people up and spit them out a million times.
Yes. No, that's, by the way, that's some of the shit that I love about New York, like the mythology of New York that I do subscribe to. It's like, if you survive the media here and the spotlight here, that shit is real. We were talking about like the ways in which attention and spotlight can like melt your brain. The people who have won, who made it to that highest level, Derek Jeter, is like fascinating for this reason. Eli too, they escaped unscathed, which is the hardest thing.
It's like we did everything we could to try and break you, and you didn't break, so now you can be our friend, like kind of thing. That's how New York operates. It's like, yeah, like of course we were hazing you the whole time, like, but you passed, so now you're the guy, But it's like, yeah, that's kind of how I feel like with doing something like Star Wars. It's like I
get the metaphor now.
See, now you're bringing it all home. It's like you take that risk. it could end up badly. You know, you could end up like, I'm trying to think of a New York Giants quarterback who flamed out.
Who was the shittiest? Oh, Joe Pisarcik,
See.
Craig Morton, Scott Bruner. I think the point is being proven.
We don't even know who these guys are.
Correct.
Correct. Yeah,
Frank Filchuk.
No.
You
Not ringing a bell.
don't remember Frank Filchuk from 1946? He had a 60.2 Q quarterback
you don't
rating.
have to go back that far to find a Giants quarterback.
No, Danny Cannell. Let's go with Danny
there we
Cannell
go.
from
Danny
96,
Cannell.
98.
That's a good one.
So I should say that the you identifying with Eli Manning feels a little on the nose.
I am. Me and Eli are shit. You know, we're like kindred spirits. He's the younger brother too. You know, he gets what I'm going through.
So I texted Donald and I said that we're going to do like a podcast. And he was like, is there anything specific you guys are talking about? And I was like, what should I ask him about? Let me know. And Donald said, quote, ask about the clip art jokes we used to make as kids. End quote. I have no idea what the clip art jokes are.
Yeah, man. Donald likes to be like, we invented memes. Like we invented memes in the 90s, early 2000s, like you guys. Like
What does this mean?
There was a computer like game program called like Spider-Man, like comic book maker, which we had on our like family computer, which is like, it had really like kind of like animation that would just do like certain things, like Spider-Man walking weird, and you could
Spider-Man cartoon maker. I'm seeing
comic book maker.
Oh my God! Yep, photos of a CD-ROM with this as the cover art.
So we would just make funny stuff with that. You know, we would make little like comic book things. It was pretty terrible. There was that. But then what I started doing was, you know, PowerPoint had all the clip art.
Oh, right.
In it. And so I just started doing things where I would find clip art that I thought was funny, and I would just like put it there, and then like kind of like put like a blurb or like a meme of like, you know, explaining this out of context, like clip art. So in a way, like making memes based off of like the shitty stock clip art that you find in PowerPoint.
It sounds like you were making New Yorker cartoons.
Pretty
using
much.
PowerPoint. This sounds far more highbrow than I imagined.
No, that's what I mean. It was ahead of its time. This is me as like a 13-year-old being like, let me find these funny like clip arts and be like, this is great. One that I remember specifically, there's like a clip art of like an umpire in between two people. It was like a black, because it's like, you know, it's like corporate stuff. So it's like one guy in like a tie and another guy in a tie, and it's like a real umpire like in between them. And because it's like clip art too, like one guy's black and one guy's white. So I just remember I had that clip and I just put underneath like, hey guys, save that racism for the game. Just the umpire trying to keep them apart. But just like, yeah, stupid stuff like that to make each other laugh. We probably did. We probably had like 80 of these things that we would just go at different times.
You
like,
and Donald had a hard drive
full of,
mostly based on hard drive sizes back then, mostly full of
it was
clip art
90%
comics.
clip art memes that we made. So yeah, that's how we changed the world. Once Bill Gates got a hold of it, it was out.
But wait, you and Donald at that age, like making each other laugh.
Yeah.
To what extent were other people laughing?
I mean, a lot of people. I mean, my family in general, it was pretty funny. My sister is also funny. My sister Brienne, she would make clip art. She joined in with us doing that too. So a lot of it was always just like making each other laugh. You know, my dad was also like a silly guy, like loved to laugh. And I remember we had Donald had a talk boy. If this is really
like
going back. Yeah, like the
style.
Home Alone talk
Voice recorder.
boy. Yeah, and like we would like just make like fake commercials and like fake stuff on that, you know. So it was always just like you know, we like not to like be like we never had much, you know, but it's like no, it's like if we like as kids, I think our imagination was really good because we could just take something as shitty as that Spider-Man comic book maker, which I think my dad bought like secondhand for like $10 or so. It was like
your dad bought a ripped version, a bootleg Spider-Man cartoon maker.
It was already terrible.
On a burned CDR.
I'm sure it was like on sale for like $5. I'm sure somebody had already bought it and was like, "This is terrible," and like returned it.
That stuff would be. You could like sell all of those as NFTs now. You guys got to find that hard drive.
Like 2 years ago would have been the
I know,
perfect
actually,
time.
yeah, right now, no one.
Yeah, like
buy it, but
$7 million.
holy
They'd have like the arena in like LA is named like the Spider-Man comic book maker arena.
There's a shot of it being airlifted off. They have to unrename the Staples Center. From Spider-Man.
That's gonna be funny to look back at in a couple of years. People are gonna be like, the crypto center, what is that? It's like an old man explaining, like, well, Jimmy, there were these bored apes. And
in that way, you did foresee. I mean, if that is clip art fundamentally.
It is. You know, they should have put something funny underneath these bored apes.
Nope.
They took themselves too seriously. That was the problem. They should have been memeing themselves.
So wait. So just give me a sense of you. So what year is this roughly? I want to place myself in this timeline.
Oh man, it was probably like 2000, 1999, maybe, like right around there.
Were you and Donald on AOL?
I didn't.
What was your
AOL.
ISP? What is? To what extent are you guys of the internet?
Man, it's funny. I remember we went over to a friend of my dad's house, and like he was like, we came in there, and I remember he was like, I got like the internet, I got like the computer, and like I remember Donald was super excited. Donald was like, "What?" Like he like ran over there. He's like, "What?" And I didn't really know what it was. I was like, "Yeah," and I like went over there. I'm like looking,
his big Eli Manning face wandering over there.
And I'm like looking. I'm like, "So what is this?" And he's like, "You know, you could like go on. You go like to all these different things." I'm like, so I'm a kid. I'm like, go to Nickelodeon.com. Let me see that. It's like you pulled it up. It was like so early that you would go there and it would be like under construction. It's like a picture of like one Nicktoon cartoon, like Chucky from the Rugrats, like shrugging, like
literal clip art of like those orange construction cones on either side,
exactly.
like a web counter
like they
at the bottom.
Yeah, it's like your person number 628 to come here. It's like disappointed. Like you shouldn't be. Like soon, one day we'll have something. And I remember we went to a couple of like sites, and they were all like that. They were all like under construction, like you know what? And I was like, I don't get this. And I remember like a year later, a couple months later, like my dad was like, he got a computer, and he was like, yeah, you all need email addresses. You guys got to have like email. I had what were we using? We were using like Juno.
Oh,
I don't even know if people.
I mean, all you need to do to express your poverty was say I was
exactly
Steve Glover at Juno.com.
Somewhere out there, there's a Juno account racking up like Nicktoons, like newsletter. I appreciate my dad about my dad, like his enthusiasm for like new technology. He was always like on the cusp. He was like he was excited about the internet. He's like, we gotta like have a computer.
Yes, my dad is the same way.
Yeah, you know?
My dad brought us a joystick before we knew what it was. You know, like my dad like was somebody who loved a sharper image catalog, or so it seemed in retrospect. Just like devices and stuff.
Here's another deep cut. There was a video game called Monster Rancher.
Yes.
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 So, Monster Rancher was a great game where you raised a monster, kind of like Pokemon. But the cool thing about it was like these monsters are like trapped on disc. Disc stones was like the thing. So you could find any disc, put it into the PlayStation, and it will create you a random like monster. Like based on the data on this disc. So
Yes.
because my dad had hundreds and hundreds of CDs, it was like the greatest game ever, you know? And like they're like super rare ones that you could only get from certain discs. And he would like, it's like this in living color CD. You could get this cool monster. I'm like, my dad has this CD. Like,
Wait. So I should say that my memory of Monster Rancher ends at there was a thing called Monster Rancher. And the idea that there would be specific CDs that resulted in like triggering, unlocking
yes.
a special monster.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And you're saying that literally the programmers of Monster Rancher were like, if you have this CD,
yes,
you will get this special edition, like
limited
Kenny G monster.
Well, he wouldn't like look like Kenny G or anything, but it might be the monster might be called something, you know, winking at Kenny G, like a, I don't know, like a jazzosaur. I don't know, but it would be like
This is an incredible
special.
game.
It would be like a special, like one of like you couldn't get it on any like by using any other disc. Like sometimes you could use 2 like CDs and you'd get the same monster.
You're saying you would get like a David Alan Grier monster after plugging in like your In Living Color CD?
See, this is also taking it back. In Living Color, like Living Color, there's a black rock band called Living Color, and then there's the show In Living Color.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, this is I should now reflect on why I thought In Living Color would have a CD.
There's like the soundtrack to like this the original soundtrack to Living Color. It's like Jim Carrey doing songs. But you wanna know what's funny is back then that's how it used to be. My dad had the original Batman soundtrack that Prince did. He actually had like 3 Batman soundtrack CDs. But needless to say,
A lot of great music came from Batman soundtracks.
very true. You know, Kiss from a
Oh
Rose.
my God. I mean, the Batman
Yeah.
Forever soundtrack is an all-time classic.
Man, I remember there was a song, Method Man does a song about the Riddler. I think he raps from the perspective of the Riddler.
Wait. Hold on, I'm going to play some of this. Hold on.
Oh
hold
my
on, hold on.
goodness.
I'm in my hideout in the back of the hill. I crack a wall and I quarter by the mill. Cody Fenton, Johnny Blazing, Bobby Stills. We was blazing hot with.
So at this point, we should point out that the music video is interlaced with like almost like strobe-like clips of Jim Carrey becoming the Riddler in Batman Forever.
It's like the least hip hop thing you could.
And weirdly also bring us back to In Living Color.
Yeah. Everything's connected. Everything is connected to Jim Carrey.
This is incredible.
Yeah, my dad.
How
had
many
this
views
CD.
do you think this video has?
Like, I'm gonna say 700.
It has 13,000.
Wow.
This is the official music video. It has 13,000. We're going to chart the success of this episode based on how many views this gets after this comes out.
I want to come back to that video like in like 2 weeks and just see people like in the comments like came here because of Pablo. Only here because of Pablo.
Came here because Steve referenced his dad's CD collection. If you told me, Steve, that this podcast would end in us playing the music video for The Riddler by Method Man, I would have said, yeah, that's about right.
I wouldn't have guessed it, but I'm not surprised.
I look forward to being cast as a character in your Lando movie.
You can be one of the senators. You could be a space senator.
You guys got that? That's a legally binding. I'm turning to our producer. That's a legally binding contract.
I'm sure Lucasfilms is already canceling our contract. They're like, you weren't supposed to say. You're already making promises to people. Like
You're casting people?
the WGA is gonna come down on me pretty hard too. So it's all. This may not happen. Is what I'm saying.
Steve, thank you for getting in trouble with me.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me. Anytime, man. Anytime, a good excuse to come to New York.
Okay, so I'm sitting down at my computer and reflecting on what I found out today. And I knew this, but I should just reiterate it. I love Steve. I think he's just brilliant, one of the most brilliant writers in entertainment in general. I'm definitely gonna demand to have Steve in our regular rotation here as a friend of Pablo Torre Finds Out. Because today, specifically, what I found out is so clear to me. If you have a friend who's making a secret Star Wars movie, you can just invite him onto your show and shamelessly pressure him until he finally agrees to make you a galactic senator. This has been Pablo Torre Finds Out, a Meadowlark Media production. And I'll talk to you next time.
I was telling Katie this. I feel like whenever I talk about sports, I bring up my childhood friend, Mike McDaniel, the head coach of the Miami Dolphins, which I bring up anytime someone brings up sports.
So would I.
Yeah, that's what I say.
I
Like,
always
you're not
find
talking about it too much. It's
No,
the amount
not
that I would
enough.
talk about it as well.
I feel like I talk
Well,
about
it was
too
cool
much.
because before he became the head coach, obviously he was the coordinator.
Run game coordinator,
Run
and
game
then
coordinator,
offensive.
offensive coordinator of Dan's team. And Dan grew up in Colorado, so that's where they know each other from. So the
Yeah.
fact that he ended up on the 49ers coaching staff was wild. And then to see him get the head coaching job in my division.
Two stories from that are my favorite McDaniel stories was Mike's mom, Donna, was great to me.
Shout out Donna.
Shout out Donna. And shout out Gary McCune, his ex-stepdad, because they would let me stay there. I didn't like my mom's boyfriend. I didn't like going home. So every weekend in 7th and 8th grade, I spent the night at McDaniel's house. I bring a bag with me, put it in my locker.
Oh, wow.
Slept there Friday night, slept there Saturday night. After all the football games on Sunday, my mom would pick me up and take me home. Donna, Gary McCune, Mike's ex-stepdad, worked for the Denver Broncos. So that's how Mike was able to be a ball boy in 97 and 98. And Gary was like the first dude I met, like that was a dad that was cool. That you were like, I'm gonna go in the garage and hang out with Gary. Like Gary rules. And big Broncos house. Mike was a huge Broncos fan. And that's why week 3, Broncos at Miami, we're going down there.
Oh,
for
this
that.
season.
I'm not missing that. I'm not watching Mike coach his his favorite team growing up.
Right.
It's going to be awesome. So I would always wear 49ers stuff because my family's from the Bay. I lived in Denver, but I was a huge Niners fan. I would always go into Mike's house, and Donna would always say the same thing. She'd always go, "You're wearing the wrong colors." Like just as like a little ball busty. But she'd always say that. She'd be like, "You're wearing the wrong colors." And I was like, Joe Montana's better than John Elway. That's always what I came back with. So Mike, coaches in the NFL, starts in 2005 in Denver, goes to Houston, coaches Dennis Green in an upstart league, then comes back to the league for Washington, Cleveland, Atlanta, gets hired by the 49ers.
Your team.
Yeah, when Kyle takes over the head coaching job. First game I go to is Seahawks at Niners after Thanksgiving of that first season. And Mike's wife is like, "Hey, I'm going to leave you passes. Come say hi to him on the sideline." Great. I drive down from my grandmother's house. I go to the Levi's. I go to the sidelines. I get on the sideline, and there's Donna, Mike's mom, standing there. And the first thing she says to me as when she sees me, she goes, "I'm finally wearing the right colors." And I was like, best callback I've heard. Because I haven't heard that since probably 8th grade.
Right.
And I was like, that's amazing. I hugged her. I was like, this is amazing. So to watch him go to the Super Bowl in 2019 and all that. So then 49ers lose to the Rams, NFC Championship game, 2022 season, or 2021 season. I'm like, I think McDaniel's going to leave. I think it's about time. He's like probably going to. And Katie, I swear to God, I remember where she was standing. Katie's in the kitchen of our old place in Jersey. And she's just in the kitchen doing something. And she goes, "Yeah, that's cool. Just nothing in the AFC East." And I go, "Right?" And then 2 weeks later, I'm like, he's the Dolphins head coach. I was like, he took the Dolphins job.